Before we go developing the story of our characters, it's important for us to actually ask ourselves, why is this necessary? If you look long enough at any accredited illustration school, something for concept art, for animation, you'll see that there is not just an emphasis on the actual technical drawing skills, but also on the thinking that goes behind it. I mean, it's even behind the name concept art. So you may think that, sure, concept artists work on, movies and video games, and of course they need to really think things through, but how does that apply to what I do? I assure you that if the extent of your character design is just in logos or icons, it still is very beneficial for you to learn how to create the story of a character. In fact, I would think that designers would understand more than anybody else the idea that form follows function. To explore the benefits of story, I conducted a small drawing experiment in which I had participants draw 2 pirates at 5 minutes each. For the first drawing, the brief was pretty simple: draw a pirate. But for the second drawing, they first had to read a few paragraphs explaining the personality and experience of this pirate. Rather than drawing a generic pirate, people were now drawing Edgar Bushybrows, an island-stranded pirate who spends his time racing crabs, devouring coconuts, and putting off any plans of actually escaping his island. When we compare the first and second drawings, we see some pretty interesting things. First of all, without even asking, many people introduce scenes into their drawings. The decision that this character is stuck on an island was enough to have many of the participants include the island in their drawing. And I think it goes without saying that a character and an environment is much more interesting than one floating in space. On the same note, many people included objects and symbols into the piece based on the provided information. We had heart-shaped eye patches to hint at his calm nature, sandcastles to show how he might spend his free time, and lots of crabs and coconuts to illustrate some of the favorite parts of his island life. Just as with the environment, these elements support the piece and just naturally add more interest. We also got a variety in poses. When I just ask for pirate, most of what I get is a character standing in one place. But when I add some story, suddenly I get all sorts of action poses that actually tell us a bit of who this character is. Sitting on the beach, going fishing, building a sandcastle, these are all much more interesting visuals than standing still. Finally, and what I think most importantly, is in the second drawing, we see a breaking of the pirate mold. When most people think pirate, they think in very generic terms: eye patch, peg leg, angry. And while these elements still appear in many of the second drawings, that's not all that exists. We see happy pirates, sad pirates, fat pirates, borderline naked pirates, even a bird pirate. If you want to learn more about this experiment, a more in-depth write-up can be found in the class description. So one of the biggest pitfalls about drawing such an iconic character is that we already have all these ideas about how it's going to look before we even start. And chances are anybody seeing your drawing has those same ideas. So by creating new decisions about our character before we even start drawing, we can override that default and create something that's much more interesting to make and to look at.